how to make the two-sided Valentine's and St. Patrick's Day standing sign. So the first thing we actually are going to paint is I'm going to paint my stand and my background. So I'm going to move all my little pieces aside. And what we're going to do is we are going to stain this wood piece, but I gave you guys some light brown stain to stain this, but if you don't want to stain this and you want to paint it black, go for it. And then I'm just going to have a white background, so it's going to be a wood bottom with a white background. The thing with this is we're going to have to paint both the front and the back, so we'll concentrate on the front and then we'll maybe do our little pieces, and then we'll move to our back once everything is dry. So you're going to need, in addition to your kit, you're going to need some water and some paper towels nearby. I'm going to paint my background first, so I'll put a coat of white on this, then we'll stain this, and then I'll put a second coat of white on my front. So I'm just going to use my smaller brush, not the foam brush, and I'm just going to paint the back white. Now you could paint it any color you'd like, but I would keep it like a neutral color and do the same color on the front and the back. That'll make things easier for you in a little bit. And when you're painting, take nice long strokes. I'm going up and down just because that's how the grain of my wood is. And you'll see we'll need 2 coats because you'll still see some of the wood coming through. So I have my first coat on. I'm going to put that over here to dry. And then I'm going to go back and get my wood block. Make sure your area is clean because we're going to actually stain this. So you're given some brown. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to stain this. So you'll need a paper towel, and I'm just going to brush it on. I'm going to go with the side at a time, brush it on. And then take your paper towel, one over to the side, and you're just going to wipe it. So you're going to brush and wipe this whole thing. So say goodbye to him. You might want to wash your hands a little bit. And then I'm going to go back to I'm going to put a cup down right here. I'm going to go back to my board. I have my board just on a cup, just so it doesn't touch the bottom. And I'm going to put a second coat of white on my board. Put my second coat of white on that first side, so I'm going to put this aside. We're going to paint all our little pieces, and then when we are finished with that, we're going to flip it over and paint the other side. So I put that aside. Now I'm going to get all my love pieces. So to do my love, this is what I'm thinking color-wise. I'm going to do black, pink, and then maybe a little darker pink for the heart and red for the heart. All right, so I'm going to start by making some pink. So I have a little plate that has all my paints on them. But if you don't have a plate, you could use the little cap of your paint, and I am going to mix up a little pink. So I'm going to take white and then just add a teeny bit of red. And then what I'm going to do with this pink is I'm going to put 2 coats on the love, and then I'm going to make it a little darker and put 2 coats on the arrow. I'm going to move on. I'm going to paint the background of my love black. And then I'm actually going to paint that little heart black too. So I'm just going to wash and dry my brush, make sure it's really clean, and then just put 2 coats of black on everything. Everything dry from the Valentine's Day section. I'm going to put it aside. We have 2 coats on everything. If you feel like you need to make a 3rd, go for it. I'm going to put it aside. I'm going to clean up my space a little, and then we'll come back and we'll paint our Lucky and our Shamrock. Our Lucky. I'm going to do something a little different with the Lucky. I'm actually going to use the stain to paint it, and then I'm going to use the green to make different colors, and I'm going to put different colors of green on each Shamrock. So I'm going to stain my Lucky. I'm just going to use my paintbrush, and I'm going to do the same thing. I am just going to paint it, and then I'll wipe it with a paper towel. You should only need 1 coat if you stain it, but you could use whatever colors you'd like. These are just acrylic paint, so if you have other paints at home that you want to use, go for it. So I painted it. Now I'm going to take a little piece of paper towel, and just like what we did with the bottom, I'm just going to wipe a little. And there we got our Lucky. If you are just going to paint it a solid color, just do 2 coats. Alright, so after I do my Lucky, I'm going to move on to my Shamrocks. I'm going to wash my brush. And then I'm just going to paint the Shamrocks. I'm going to move this paper so it's easier. I'm going to paint 1 using the green that I have. And then using either one of the caps or a plate, I'm going to make a little lighter green. So I'm going to take that green, take a bunch of white, get a little lighter green. I'm going to put a coat on there. And then I'm going to try and do the same thing. So I'm going to make darker green. So I'm going to take some of the regular green, put a tiny bit of black in it. I'm It almost becomes like a forest green. So I'm going to let these dry, and then I'm going to put a second coat. So I'm gonna let everything dry. I'm gonna let it dry for like 15 minutes. And while it's drying, you could check your board. If your board is dry, mine's still a little wet, but once this board is dry, you can put 2 coats of paint on the back. And then we'll meet when everything else is dry. And remember to do your edges on the side of this too. And we'll meet when everything's dry and we'll glue it together. Everything is dry at this point. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna glue one side together, wait a couple minutes, and then glue the other side. Since I have the Lucky all out, I'm gonna start with the Lucky. Now to just help you guide, so what's gonna happen is your white board or your board is gonna go into your wood. So you're not gonna see like the bottom portion of your board. So I just like to keep the stand on the bottom when I glue everything. So I'm just gonna take my Lucky, and I am going to glue my Lucky. Then once I like the layout, I like to put my words up on top, towards the top. Once I have everything set, I'm going to take some glue. You know, you could use pretty much any glue. I'm using a wood glue, but it's pretty much Elmer's, and I'm just using a paintbrush with my glue. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to lift each piece up, put a little glue down, and then once I have my Lucky, make sure it's all centered. You'll have a couple minutes to like kind of move things. You don't want to put too much glue though. And then I'm going to start just painting the back of my shamrocks, or clovers actually. And then put those down. And then I'm gonna let this all dry for a couple minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll do the other side. I'm gonna let it dry for like about 10 minutes. So I waited like 10 or 15 minutes. I can't really shift any of the Lucky or the shamrocks. So I'm gonna flip it over and I'm gonna start on the love section. So I'm just gonna lay it out. I don't know really how I want it. Something like that. All right, so once you have your layout, you're just gonna do the same thing. Take your glue. I'm gonna glue the big outline. So once I have everything glued, I'm just gonna let it be. This is all dry. You could find your stand. It'll probably take an hour to dry, and you could put a little sign on the stand, and then you have a little decoration for both Valentine's Day and St. Patrick's Day. All right, hope you have a good one.